Welcome everybody. Welcome to the today's market debrief meeting. Okay, let's start off with the S&P 500. All right. This is the past few days, the 2 days there's two up loss. Okay, and what we are seeing is that what I see is that the volume is not really that fantastic. Whereas on the down days, right, on the red days, the volume is very high. So at this moment, this S&P 500 right is just resting along its support area. Okay, this is the support area roughly about 3,000 points. So with a lot of this rate high volume days happening, right? What I see is that there's probably more distribution happening than people accumulating. The chance of it for it to come down, right, might be higher. Okay, the positive sign is that it's trading above the 200-day moving average. It's still trading above the 3,000 points support area. So that's a positive. If it can have more volume, higher volume on up days, right, then that will become a more positive sign in the midterm. All right, so we just have to watch out, see what's the indication we get from this. But at the moment, if we look at the Europe side, this is the German DAX. It's already opening down. Okay, so the US futures is also following it on the downside. So what we can see is most likely it's going to be up and down. It has been doing so for the past 3 weeks. Okay, so we have to see how it turns out. So in the meantime, as what I've mentioned last video, that the gold has start to make new high and it's continued to trend higher. Okay, the not good thing is that the volume is very low. So I'm not too sure whether is it because there's less trading happening or there are less gold being so-called dark or refined due to the COVID that's happening around in the world. Okay, so at this moment, gold is inching up. All right, and this is not a very good sign now because we know gold is usually the safe haven for investors, for big investors, and when there are a lot of conflicts, confusion, and all sorts of stuff happening, then investors tend to move money or have more allocation into gold. This is what I'm seeing, right now with this gold spot gold price. So let's look at the Straits Time Index. As I mentioned last week, we are going to have a very quiet sessions, quiet week. Firstly, because the Singapore election is happening on the 10th of July. There's 9 more days to go. So from what I see is most of the big cap stocks are having what we call very muted sessions, very low volume transactions happening. Mainly because firstly, maybe the US is quiet, so therefore Singapore is quiet. There's also another reason is because investors like to see what happens, the election, before they decide whether to continue investing in Singapore. So in such a case, right, if in the next 1 2 weeks, right, that US starts to have move or China starts to move off and Singapore still continue to be quiet, which means to say we roughly know that probably PAP will not get a very strong result. Might be less or they might even lose. So it's hard to say. Okay, I'm not saying I'm supporting anybody or what, but I'm just commenting based on what I see on the chart. As most of the big cap stocks, the banks and all that is quite muted. Their volume is very low. Okay, so it's like a risk off for people and for investors. So what can we actually look at? So in most of the case, the big caps is hard for us to invest or buy. So last week I mentioned about the aviation sector. This is about to opening up, and this is one of the support sectors. If airport starts to fly, plane starts to fly, airport starts to service passengers, then this is one of what SATS right is going to do is to start servicing passengers. All right, and at this moment, yes, is right down in the oversold region. It's been down for quite some time, and there's a sudden volume spike here. So in this small move, right, is what I would say is a short-term um, called low at this moment, and then there's a gap up. So we would like to see if volume can pick up over the next few days. All right. So, but I was like I said, um, elections are coming. This type of stocks people tend to avoid at the moment. Okay, city development. Right, city development has been trading above this support area quite nicely. So volume is low. So if we can see city dev trading above this area, okay, around this price about 860, 870. If you can trade above, right, it might likely make a run for 930, 950 region. Okay, or you can even invest in a longer term if it starts to trade break through this 200-day moving average resistance. Okay, so right now it's in the oversold region, so we can say quite safely say that the downside is capped at the moment. It may test here or test here and then finally break through this resistance. So we would like to see how this one turns out. Um, Compare this with Capital Land. Personally, I would prefer Capital Land chart wise. Okay, the reason for that is that yesterday there's an increase in volume. Okay, after it tests the support, there's an increase in volume. No buying up the stocks. Today is a rest day, low volume rest day. So this I'll consider positive sign compared to CityDev. Meaning to say investors are more likely buying into Capital Land rather than CityDev. All right, so we like to see how this one will turn out. You can also look into investing in this. Buy a small position and trail as far as it goes. Last week I mentioned about UMS. You tested this, then thereafter it did a ex dividend coming down. So the good thing is that this support area of 86 and a half is holding well. It didn't even test that, and it starts to move up again with increased volume today. So this is a positive sign. We'd like to see how this one can continue to move up and eventually break this 97 cents. Okay, so we can look into investing in this. Why I mention about this because its counterpart, you can just look at AEM. Also had a nice move today. So this one is a flag pattern. Most likely it might trade test here, considering it's already done 1, 2, 3, 4, and coming if it reach here is the fifth point, which means to say there will be higher chance that this they might break on the upper side. So if you are a trader, you will rather trade AEM than UMS, okay? But if you are an investor, I think you'll go for UMS because it's more like it's not that overvalued compared to AEM. Then there's another electronic manufacturer. This is Venture, and Venture is trading quite well, staying above this support of $15 area, and now trying to test its resistance roughly 16 and 50 cents. There are more volume on the up days, which means to say money are flowing back in. All right, so we like to see how this one turns out. So compared to, I mean, in terms of trader, in terms of investor, I think I'll go for EM, UMS. Firstly, their price is lower, compared to venture. We can't really buy much unless you have big funds, And but we just do this as a sector comparison to see whether this sector is considered strong or not. And there's also one more, which I mentioned a few weeks ago. This is Franken. All right, this date is when I talk about it, 17 June, one of the debrief days, and thereafter it break off. So after this nice rest, today has a move off again. All right, so if you're a trader, you can also look into taking the next trade. Tomorrow, if it starts to gap up slightly higher and then continue to move up. Okay, so you can probably trade like another 1 or 2 days. Okay, because considering the history, it tends to move off like 3 to 4 days, 3 to 4 days, 3 to 4 days. So that's the history. We just catch on this pattern and see how this one turns out if you trade. So so for investors, let's look at OCBC. So as I mentioned before, most of the big cap stocks are is quite muted. You can see the range is very small. Okay, lethargic. The movement is lethargic. Volume is low, and for this, the volume is higher on the support and resistance side, which is like the 880 and the 920 area. Okay, so that's where the volume comes in these two parts. So um, I would say more like prop traders, bank traders. They are trading in this very small range at this moment, all waiting to find out where this one will move the next side. Will we move off on the top side, 920, or break down on the bottom 880? Okay, so that's the range is happening. So if it moves off on the upside, you can look into invest, and buy into this. The next resistance area most likely is $10. It's a psychological resistance. Okay, so that's all for the investors. There's not much to look at. We can find that there's a lot of choices, undervalued stocks, but in terms of chart pattern, there's nothing much to talk about it. All are bad. So for traders, what should we be looking at? First up, this is a stock I mentioned before. This is IPS Securex. All right. So what happens is that all this volume that happens here, the traders that has stuck in this area, 0.9394, they are all selling. You can see all this deal that's happening. So I believe, but the thing is, it's been supporting quite well in the 88, 87, 86 region. So the traders here are selling over, and I think there are people who are slowly accumulating. Let's see this one how it turns out. If you can continue trading sideways, make nicer pattern, the real break will be if it breaks off this 94 cents price. Okay, so if it were to break off, my guess is there's a range lah. You can go for between 11 to 14 cents. Okay. The medical industries, last thing I mentioned before, medtech, um, that the support area has been supporting quite well, and you can look into trading this. So thereafter, you already move off for the next 5 days. All right, the next whole week has been running off. Okay, so in this, we cannot buy anymore. If you don't chase stocks, we just have to let it rest and see how this one turns out. Yeah, counterpart like Riverstone, it's already moved off also together. So if you miss this, you can look at Top Glove. Okay, Top Glove haven't really moved much. It's still within this whole big consolidation area. So you can also look into buying to Top Glove. The volume coming in. This is a positive sign. Medical. The medical. Over the week I've mentioned about Biolytics. It used to move in tandem with the other medical stocks, but they had pulled out their COVID-19 test kits from the US. So therefore, this big gap down happened. All right. So in this case, Biolytics, ClearBridge, we can't really look into them anymore. So this is UG Healthcare, has moved off very strongly. All right. So this one we can't really buy anymore. Okay. So we just have to focus the possible one like Top Glove in this case. Earlier I mentioned that the gold price has been moving up. So this is CNMC dealing in gold refining. and they have gap up today on news that they are giving dividends 0 0.4 cents. So based on this price, it's roughly about 1.72%. You know, so X date roughly about 30th of July. So this is how it turns out. It gap up, and then we see how it can trade. And most likely it's going to be a slow run, slow move, as the gold spot price is also doing the same thing. It's very slow move upwards. Okay, Accordia Golf Trust. Last week over here already mentioned. There's they are going to do a distribution of their 1.2 billion yen reserve, and I mentioned that they're also looking into selling off their golf assets. The previous time he did that, it was like 75 cents. So right now the deal, they have already mentioned about the deal on Monday, and the price they are giving is 73.2 cents. Okay. Now why this did not trade until 73.2 is because the investors are looking to buy the assets. They are not looking to buy the company, which means to say this is not a buyout. The money does not go straight to the shareholders. All right. So therefore, what happens is this it is a sales of asset, and what happens is that the sales of assets, right? The money will go into the company, and the company will have some time to look for investors. Or, no, sorry, to look for assets to invest in, and continue with the trust. But if in the meantime they couldn't find any assets to buy, in a case like previously we have a case like Sizen REIT. So what they will do is they will declare special dividend and distribute all the funds back to shareholders. So that is when the share price will go to 73 cents or 72 half. And I think by SGX certain rules, I think within 6 months or 1 year, if they couldn't get any more assets, they will have to delist. So that's when you will get the full value of your assets back. All right. So at this moment, it's just trading at 69 cents. Um, and I can't guarantee you they will get back at this 72 half or 73 cents. All right. So most likely, once the deal is confirmed and all that, then they will declare dividends for the shareholders. Okay, for those who do shorting, those who have CFD accounts or something. This is Yang Zijiang. As I mentioned last week, the whole chart has changed. It failed to test this resistance, and it is making a very, very ominous pattern. What I would consider this as an inverse cup and handle pattern. Alright, so this area of 91 to 92 cents, right? Once this support is broken with increased volume, right? Most likely there will be more downsides to happen. Okay, this is for Yang Zijiang. But on the flip side, um, there's no big rise in oil prices. Okay, but there are some interesting thing. The whole um, marine sector or oil and gas sector had a big move today. All right, Sembcorp industry has a big range but has no volume. Mainly because they have this deal together with Sam Marine. All right, there's a buyout and a demerger kind of news. So therefore, it is not favorable. But if we look at there are other stocks that are doing, and it all move in tandem together today. So this is Mermaid, high volume, nice move up. Okay, so you can probably look to trade with a possible resistance here about 88 cents. It's a small trade, 1 or 2 days trade. So see if this can happen. Most likely will. Why I think will is because the whole sector is moving at the same time. So that's good news. This is Rex. Okay, it's increased volume today. Okay, so it's right now it's a consolidation, and we'll see if we can test this 20 cents again. Okay, This is dynamic. Same thing. There's a volume today coming in. So there might be another 1 or 2 days move. So you can look into choosing one or two. Um, so this is Intera. Similarly, same space, but this is 2 penny, I would say. Okay, and we see how this one turns out. So you can choose either one of them. Bear in mind they are all penny stocks, so do not expose yourself too much. Okay, this is Asia Falls. I'm showing this. I do not know what they really do. Here it says minerals, metals, precious metals, or maybe rare earth metals. I'm not too sure. Have to go and look at it. Um, have to also have to investigate what caused this run. All right, there must definitely be some news that caused this, and then it has already died down, or not really like died down, but it has trapped most of the retail investors there. So what happens is this is forming quite a nice pattern. There's a lot of volume coming in on the up bars. Okay, and recently there is consecutive uh, volume coming in these few days and testing this. So if you're looking at a trade like this, right, you can look at if it breaks this 28 cents, you can look to take a trade. Probably might just do one long bar. If it does that, then take your profit and run already. Okay, so this is Asia Falls. I'm not too keen about this Parkson Retail doing departmental stores. Mainly because I've been to a lot of their malls in Vietnam, in Penang. Doesn't feel good, doesn't feel enticing. The crowds are not there, so I'm not too sure what is causing this run at this moment, which is positive for this chart. Volume coming in, trading above this 200-day moving average, and forming a consolidation. The down has been very low volume, and the up has a lot of volume coming in, which means because nobody are selling, they just have to buy the prices up. Okay, so this is a positive sign for this. So if you would like to, and this is ultra penny, okay, it's 2 cents or something, but it's good capital gains, most likely if this happens, yeah, probably it can go to what the next level, 4 cents. That's like 100% gains. Okay, so just don't expose yourself too much, playing the penny stocks because 1 2 days it can just turn against you very fast. Okay, this is Street Trank Agro. All right, it has this move the past 2 days, very positive. But I don't really trade this because it's quite illiquid. Not much volume trading. So I just use this as a gauge to see if I should trade Wilma again. Last time I bought here and then sold here, make a very small little profit. So now it did this again, and then it's doing a nice flag pattern. So if you were to have a nice run like this, breaking off from this flag pattern, we can look to take a trade in this, probably for 1 or 2 days move. Okay, so this is Wilma. So that's all for the traders portion. We can see that the big cap stocks are muted. Not much volume, not much movement in the big cap stocks, and most of the stocks that I've mentioned are not even mid tier. They are mainly on the catalyst listing. They are penny stocks. So we know that this is there is a season where it's usually run the big caps run first. Thereafter the second tier, you have your mid caps, you like Hobie, Wing Tai, Yanlot, this kind of mid cap stocks. And then thereafter you have your small caps that run, the penny stocks. And usually after the penny stock runs, there comes to a time where there will be a correction or a bear market that happens, a small one. So um, that's why I would say do not expose yourself too much. No trading the penny stocks. Just be careful of what you are trading. you have your profit, take your profit. Now, in summary, I'd like to show one thing as I read through the whole. Those who came early, you see me looking through the Hong Kong stocks. Okay, so this is Shanghai Composite Index. You can see China is running up, and testing this resistance at this point of time. But if you look at some of the China bank stocks like ICBC, BOC, they are moving downwards. We can look at some of the Hong Kong REITs, they are moving downwards. All right, so and if we look at like in Singapore, those China related stocks like the EC World REIT, you know, okay, there's this move, even like Sasia REIT. All right, so it's not doing a nice pattern over here, rounding pattern, lower high, inverse cup and handle pattern. Um, this is not a good sign, So I'm looking at the China companies, the China index, basically testing its resistance, and all these stocks, China-related stocks, are moving on the downside or showing signs of dropping. So, which means to say something might happen in the next 1 to 2 weeks. We just have to be watch out for the news, see what's happening. Um, I'm not too sure because I do not have a crystal ball to see what's going to happen. I only know the election is coming in 2 weeks' time. So we just have to uh, reduce our risks, or maybe do not get too much exposure to China stocks. Okay, so do you guys have any questions for me? And you can just unmute and list your questions here.
Hey, hi. Hi.
Hey,
How
Chris.
how about the Hang Seng index? How's that looking like?
Okay, for the Hang Seng Index, as we compare just now to the Shanghai Index, you can see Shanghai Index is at the top of its channel range. This is the channel range. This is the top. Whereas Hang Seng is considered weaker. It was not testing the so-called the top of the channel. In fact, it is even trading on the bottom half of the channel. Which means to say is compared to China is considerably much weaker. All right, and is compared to Singapore is much weaker than Hang Seng. So this goes to show that this is in fact really a counter trend rally. It's a consolidation, and my fear is that, as I mentioned before in my past video, that there is a possibility of a second wave down move for the bear market. Okay, so we just have to be mindful or just be patient to wait this whole thing out, in before we start accumulating or buying big in the stock market. So whereas for traders we can be nimble, be in and out very fast. Okay, so but whereas for investors it's easily to get caught in it because this is a euphoria where everybody think that they have missed uh, the bull market, so-called bull market, but it's not even a bull, you see. So this is what I see. Like for this Hang Seng market is showing me that it's going to be more downside to happen in the next few months. Right. Any
Okay,
question?
thanks.
Yeah. Any more questions? All right. If not, thank you everyone.